6 a.m. here on the East Coast. This is a live look at the damage in Kyiv from a Russian strike that happened overnight, as a peace plan is still up for debate. I'm going to be speaking to the U.S. former ambassador to Ukraine coming up. Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, November 25th. I want to thank you for waking up with me. I'm Audie Cornish, and here is where we begin. The Trump administration now vowing to appeal, not one, but two dismissed criminal cases against his political foes. So a federal judge ruled that the indictments against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James were unlawful. The judge says that she had to, after finding that the interim U.S. attorney, former Trump attorney Lindsay Halligan, had been illegally appointed.
We believe we will be successful on appeal, and I'll tell you, Lindsay Halligan, I talked to all of our U.S. attorneys, the majority of them around the country, and Lindsay Halligan is an excellent U.S. attorney, and shame on them for not wanting her in office.
So the former FBI director, James Comey, says the ruling is proof of a politicized DOJ. The White House is warning him not to get too comfortable.
I know that Donald Trump will probably come after me again, and my attitude is going to be the same. I'm innocent, I am not afraid, and I believe in an independent federal judiciary, the gift from our founders that protects us from a would-be tyrant.
Joining me now, two former federal prosecutors, Alyse Adamson and Ankush Khardori. Thank you so much for being here. So first, I want to start with what the judge had to say. She wrote this, that Ms. Halligan had no lawful authority to even present the indictment, and said that all actions flowing from that defective appointment, including securing, signing the indictment, constitute unlawful exercises of executive power and must be set aside. And then this is the part I wanted to bring to you. There is simply no alternative course to cure the unconstitutional problem. Help me translate, Ankush.
There's no mechanism for them to fix the problem that they created here. The U.S. attorney was unconstitutionally installed, illegally installed, as the court concluded yesterday. There was an attempt by the Attorney General to retroactively ratify her actions. I won't bore you with the details. But
meaning calling her a special attorney.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Trying to fix, essentially, the mistake that they had made. And the court basically said, you cannot do that. There's no legal basis for you to do that here. So this is a mess entirely of the administration's own making. It's very, very embarrassing, I have to say. It's sort of a professional legal matter. This was entirely avoidable if they had just installed Halligan under a different statutory framework. And honestly, I think, what James Comey said yesterday, that the case against him is, in his view, reflects malevolence and incompetence, I think is pretty well justified at this point.
Can you talk about this incompetence part of it? I know, Alyse, you have been very critical of Halligan's performance. Could a more competent attorney general fix what is sloppy work? If they put in someone, get them through the Senate, if they actually went through the process, could they actually have a case?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head right there, Audie, if they actually went through the process, because what happened here was that the DOJ attempted to circumvent the senatorial authority of advice and consent, right? So to your question specifically, if they were to lawfully appoint a U.S. attorney, could they rebring these cases? I think they could certainly rebring the case against Letitia James. There is a question now about whether or not James Comey's case is time barred. There's also a question about the strength of these cases, because the reporting indicated that they weren't brought in the first place because prosecutors didn't believe that they could win. So I would argue a truly competent prosecutor would not have indicted these cases in the first place. DOJ guidance is that you shouldn't indict a case unless you have a likelihood of success on the merits at trial. And just looking at the evidence, at least what's been reported, it's not strong. They don't have that likelihood of success. So that's how I would answer, quite frankly, that in ordinary times, through an ordinary process, these cases wouldn't have been brought in the first place.
Let me play something for you. Pam Bondi, or the White House, has been talking about what they want to do next. They're not done. That's period. They're just not done. Regardless of what you guys are saying, here's what they had to say.
This judge took an unprecedented action to throw these cases out to shield James Comey and Letitia James from accountability based on a technical ruling, and the administration disagrees with that technical ruling. And I know the Department of Justice will be appealing this in very short order, so maybe James Comey should pump the brakes on his victory lap.
And then I want to add one more. Ty Cobb, a former Trump White House attorney, has been talking a lot about what he sees is going on here. Here was his take on that idea of a technicality.
It's like, saying that it's technically wrong to run a red light. I mean, the reality is it's wrong.
One thing it does, though, is because it's a technicality, can people say, like, look, the deep state interfered here somehow? This is not a case that was thrown out against these folks on its merits. Like, does it kind of contribute to that argument?
Can I just say, this is not a technicality. The court ruled that the appointment was unlawful based on the law and also the Constitution. So I agree with Ty Cobb's position, where it's kind of silly to say it's a technicality when there was a constitutional violation.
Yeah.
Like you said, sure, they didn't reach the merits of the case, but they didn't have to, because in bringing the case, they violated the Constitution. This was not the result of a partisan judge. This was a case about statutory interpretation. And
let me bring in Ankush then, just for the last word, which is that fundamentally people thought the guardrails of the law, how prosecutors operate, the rules, would prevent them from being sort of bent to the will of these political whims. Are we seeing in these last few months that that is just not the case?
Well, I mean, I think we're seeing a couple of things. First, I know you're going to be talking about the situation with Mark Kelly later in the hour. I think that partly reflects an effort by the administration to move some of these cases out of independent forums and into executive branch only forums where they effectively control the outcome. Because, yes, I think in some of these cases, particularly yesterday, the courts have been providing the requisite guardrails. This particular issue, I mean, it is definitely not a technicality. It's a very, very serious issue, and I think it is really, really unfortunate and damaging for the Attorney General to go out attacking the judge, for the press secretary to go out attacking the judge, saying that, Bondi said, like, oh, how dare they, not want her in place. This is about their own ineptitude. And the fact that they cannot take accountability for anything, including when they screw up their own cases, is really, really unfortunate, and it is. I think it undermines confidence in the criminal justice system.
All right, you guys, thank you both for explaining this to me, talking it through. I appreciate you.